Thank you to EA and the EA Creator Network for giving me a free code to the Life and Death expansion pack, which is a pack that I used a lot of in this build. Last week I had done a base game and Life and Death only build, and I couldn't really use some of the items like these stone windows and the brick and stuff, so I wanted to build something this week that gave me the chance to actually play around with all of these new windows and stuff. So I built this giant manor, which you'll see like be created over the next hour because it is a huge build. It's on a 64 by 64 lot in Ravenwood. My original vision for this was that I wanted some sort of like inside greenhouse that's part of the build itself, so you could see the circular pieces being added. That's going to be the greenhouse of the build. And I like before the pack even came out, I was like imagining a house with this giant greenhouse on like multiple levels of terrain. So it's like right now it's on flat terrain, but I'll raise it up and slowly create different levels using different rocks and landscaping to create definition. And when building, I wanted to try and make this house as big as possible because I wanted it to have enough space for 8 Sims because I don't really get to do that very often, and usually my builds aren't that large, but I thought this would be a great opportunity to try and make sure that there's 8 bedrooms in it. There are a lot of bedrooms in this build, however, some of them aren't furnished, so if you download this on the gallery, you'll see that there's, like, some rooms that have, like, cardboard boxes and it's, like, storage space, and that's because I am also building this for my own gameplay save file, and my Sims, they're just a family of 2 when I was building this. Now they're a family of 3 because my Sim had another baby, but, they also don't have a lot of money, and they haven't been able to move into this house yet. Because usually if I'm just doing gameplay, I don't like to cheat money because I feel like I get bored pretty quickly when I do that. So I want like something to always be kind of working towards in my gameplay. And so now my Sims are just like trying to make money so that they could buy this house. And it is giant for them, like 3 Sims. This has so much extra space, but it's also built kind of custom for my Sims profession and like their storyline and stuff. Like my Sim, her name is Sable, and she was in the Grim Reaper like career track. But she's also a horror writer, so I wanted like a giant study area, and it ends up like being really cool. So it's not even built yet. Like it's gonna be to like the left when you're like looking at the house from the front of the greenhouse area. So you walk through the greenhouse to get to this giant library, and there's like like not curved stairs, but it's like um like fancy stairs that go up to her bedroom, so she could like immediately just walk downstairs right to her library study where she can write her books and stuff. But she also makes a lot of money through like nectar making, and she has like a little greenhouse. I posted the backyard of my Sim's current house on my Twitter. So that's there too. But yeah, she like is into gardening, and her son, he really likes gardening too. They have some chickens and stuff. So I feel like he's a teenager now, so he's going to be like really into gardening and stuff. So I wanted a lot of place for them to grow crops and things like that. There's going to be like a nectar making machine in the like plant room. There's like large farm stuff in the back, so there's enough like space to have all the different sorts of animals that have been added to the game over the years. So I have like a place for the chickens. I have a barn that has like the llamas and the cows. There's like one barn. And then I built this like custom barn right next to it that has an area for either like a horse or like the little goats and stuff like that. So I'm not really sure how many animals I'm gonna have. The last time I did like farming gameplay, I just like got carried away with the number of animals I wanted because it was like brand new horse ranch just came out and I couldn't even take care of these animals. So I probably should keep it to a minimum, but it's gonna be hard. But now I'm adding some more onto the house. I just like was trying to get the roofing down and then I was just adding pieces on to see like where the build would look good with like keeping like the balance of the structure and like the composition of like the landscape and stuff. So I'm just trying to like add to it so that it could be large enough for like 8 Sims. And really, when I was doing this, I kind of just spaced out and I was just, adding little pieces hanging off here and there to make it look more interesting. And that's just how I was doing it. Like, I'm like, okay, I'll be able to make it bigger because I'll just add a wing over here and then I'll like stick out some pieces here so it's not just like flat on like any angle of the house. So each like side of the house, it'll be a little bit interesting. It won't just be like a flat rectangle on like one section of it. It's intentionally like designed so that it could look nice from every part of the house, which I really like about this build. And I love the new windows from this expansion pack. I like knew I once I had seen those, that's what kind of inspired the idea of having a build like this and having it up on terrain, and you could like look down and you could have tea in the little like greenhouse area, which would be really like nice, which I didn't put any tea things in there but I could always add it. This build is also like minimally cluttered. If you download it, it's not going to be as decorated as like a lot of my other builds, and that was because I wanted to keep it as affordable as possible and like also so that my Sims could grow into the house. And it's like they buy the house, there's like basic furnishings, and then they could like grow into it and add their own like personality and style into it with like clutter and different flowers and stuff. So there isn't too much of like personality in the build besides like the basic sections of the house that is specifically set for my Sims hobbies. Another idea that I had for like kind of like filling up this house and making it less like empty when my Sims move in is I was like considering having my Sims like over time invite ghosts to like live with them. So there'll be like multiple ghosts around that have their own little bedroom areas and like there's an entire like almost like attic space on the third level of the build, which has nothing but a bathroom, a little like seating area with a fireplace, and there's like a large empty room like off a hallway up there, which I would think would be really nice to have a ghost living up there. I don't know, like it depends on what ghosts kind of show up for this house because I'll have this be a haunted house as well. And I guess whatever Sims they befriend, they can invite to live with them, which is something I've been wanting to do like in my current house. But my current house is so tiny. So this is like a massive upgrade for my Sims because it's like the tiniest little house. And it's like that's usually like the type of builds that I play in anyway, or like pretty small. Um, so I don't know how it's gonna be with this giant house. Um, it is set pretty far back on the lot, but I do move it forward because I was like, your Sims walking from the street all the way to the front door is probably gonna take like 4 Sim hours. So I do put like move it up pretty like up further than this, I think too. Because I was like, there's no way. The last time I played in a house that was pretty large was like 3 years ago, and my Sims won the lottery, so I spent like all day building them a giant mansion to use some of their money, and I couldn't even play because the Sims would take so long to like get to school because their bedrooms were also on like a third floor, like all the way to the back, and it took so long. If that happens again, I'll just teleport my Sims around and like cheat that way because there's no way. But I did add a lot of staircases in this build so that there's like multiple ways around so they don't have to go through like really long hallways to get around. There's like 2 staircases down here that leads upstairs, and then there's a staircase in the library that leads to, um, the mom's bedroom, and then there's, like, another staircase, like, right next to one of the other staircases that leads to the 3rd floor, and the 3rd floor is pretty much useless, which was kind of intentional for my gameplay at least, because I don't really want my Sims going up there for much anyway. There's also a lot of, like, exits towards the back of the house that leads down to the, like, farm area and garden, so I'm hoping that, like, the routing around is, like, completely okay and doable, and it doesn't take as long as, like, it could because there's so many different pathways for Sims to take. And now I'm expanding on the back of the house because, the build looks pretty big right now, but when I was looking at it from the inside, I was realizing that it was actually pretty small, at least for, like, the downstairs, and I wouldn't be able to fit everything that I really want it to in here. Especially because, there's 2, like, symmetrical pieces that stick out from the front on each one that creates a very weird shape to the build, and I didn't know how to split that up into multiple rooms, and I knew that that entire section would have to be, like, one part is, like, a living room off to the right, and then the left part of, like, it sticking out is the entire, like, library study, and I didn't really have a place for a living room. Oh, well, no, I said living room. I didn't have a place for, like, dining room and kitchen, and I wanted them to be pretty separate because I wanted to, like, feel pretty fancy, and so when you walk into the house, um, there's just, like, a huge entryway foyer with the staircase, and there's not really anything in there. There's, like, a couple of ottomans and a couple of, like, console tables that you can decorate. There's not really much on the walls because, you move in, you could, like, decorate it yourself over time, but it leads right into the dining room, which is a very large room, and then I add more out back so that, like, I have a kitchen that's, like, a giant kitchen, which normally my Sims don't have huge kitchens like that, but it, like, felt fitting for a house that's this fancy, and I kept in a lot of me doing the floor plan, and I considered, like, cutting some of it out because of how long the build video is, but I feel like it's kind of important to, like, have in here because while I'm doing the floor plan, I have to, like, fix some roof stuff and I have to, like, add more things around the builds. I don't think it would make sense if I cut it all out, even though it is pretty long. I think it's okay, like an hour just hanging out. Maybe you're also playing The Sims when you're watching. And I feel like I could get away with, like, having longer videos sometimes because I finally bought, like, an external hard drive, so, it's not, like, taking up all the space on my computer while I'm still working on finishing a video, and I could easily render this onto there and not have to worry about much. When I was doing kitchen area, I was really trying to use the glass windows because I really like the idea of having, like, a skylight, but it wasn't really working, and I was, like, kinda scared of, like, deleting the ceiling and just having the roofs there, just because I was like, "I don't know if it's gonna the weather's gonna get in." I don't think it does, but I was just nervous, and I don't have to deal with, like, not knowing, so I just, do a normal roof over there, which I think ends up working out fine. It doesn't really need the glass roof anywhere. It seems okay how it is. But I'm really excited for my Sims to move into this house and to, like, start growing into it and decorating it more over time. Maybe I'll, like, post pictures, on, like maybe not on Instagram, but, I'm on Blue Sky now, which is, like, an app that a lot of people are changing over to from Twitter. So I feel like maybe I post there. If you have the app, you could follow me there. I'll have to update my links in my description to include it because I kind of forget sometimes to update that information. But maybe there when my Sims like finally move in here, which I don't think will take too long. They're like halfway there. The house costs around like 250,000 simoleons, and my Sims currently have like 125,000 saved up, which like they're getting money fairly quickly, especially when they're wine ages. They like sell a bottle for like 3,000 at a time. Um, my Sims also, they went to the like romance festival and there was dragon fruit plants there, and so the kid like harvested them because I was like, that's good money, because when I watched my friend do her 100 baby challenge, that's how she made all her money. And I was like, yes, steal the dragon fruit from the festival and we're gonna plant it in the garden, and so I'll just have like unlimited money essentially. And so I just need to like get some more plants. Like right now I only have 2 of them, and I haven't been doing gameplay as much the last few days because I've been playing like Dead by Daylight before the Halloween event went away, and I've been like editing this, which took a pretty long time. And I had to like really set aside like goals for each day of like actually like editing half the video today so that um I don't like rush the voiceover of it, because I was like, this is gonna be over an hour. I don't know how um I'm gonna do this voiceover in like definitely not one sitting, maybe not even in one day. So I wanted to give myself enough time to be able to do it without rushing through it and without like just like trying to think of what to say, and just letting it like naturally happen. I guess me saying all of that made me take a break because now it's the next day. I don't remember everything that I've talked about so far in my voiceover, but we've got a while until I actually start doing the windows and the exterior walls and stuff. Like, this build took me a very long time, and this might be my longest speed build. I've said that before recently. I don't know how long my other like, I think it was my spellcaster family home was pretty long. I'm trying to think if this one is longer or not. Definitely the exterior of this one took me a very long time. Like, you could see here, I'm trying to fix the roof so it wouldn't like show up when you have the walls down. And like normally I don't care about things like that, but I was like, Megan, you should try and just fix this, because you've seen people fix this issue before. You know how to do it, just do it. And it's like, cuz sometimes I forget how to fix the roof like this, and so it kind of like I have to remember as I go while I was doing it. And I was like, okay, that wasn't so bad. And like again, the upstairs isn't really a place where I'm going to really like spend a lot of time with my family, because like the house is so big. I'm like, I don't know what's gonna go up there. Maybe a ghost will live up there. When I actually had built this, I was posting update pictures on Twitter, and someone had told me that it would be a good idea if I was kind of waiting for my Sims to be able to afford the house. They were like, "Oh, you could split this up into like rental residentials, and then when um your sim has more money, you could like have them buy the sections of the house," which I never even considered. I never even thought of that as a possibility. But now that like I'm remembering that, I'm thinking about how this like third story could have been sort of like an apartment area with like a ghost living up there. But I'm probably just gonna have some ghosts like moving in anyway, and I think maybe they'll live in the attic space. And I think before I upload this to the gallery, I want to like put in just some furniture into the rooms that are like storage rooms. Not a whole lot of furniture, but I'm thinking of just putting like beds that maybe were already in the house from the previous owner. And like I already had that sort of idea too, because I put in like a couch and like a chair in some of the empty rooms, as if like they brought up the couch from downstairs and they don't really know what to do with it, so they kind of threw it in the closest bedroom to the stairs. They didn't have to like carry it all the way up to the attic or something. So I'm thinking of adding just a little bit more furniture into those rooms, just in case, I guess. But now I'm moving the house even further up the lot because I realized that I didn't want my Sims walking that far. And it also gives me enough space to put some farm stuff in the backyard and like have fit all the barns and things, which is one of my favorite parts of the build. Like the back of the house, I think is my favorite area. I really like the tiny little like stable that I built. It looks like a little cottage in the backyard and has like it uses the new like roof holes that came in Life and Death, which like I really love that item. It is a little bit difficult to place on some roof peaks because I always make my roof peaks like pretty like narrow at the peak, and so some of the roof holes don't really like snap to the roof, which I'm just gonna have to like get used to and maybe change some of my roof shapes if I want to end up using them more. But yeah, here's the terrain now. I really like how it came out. I feel like I just was like, I just want different layers. So I have the higher hill at the top and then just like little bit of a difference. It's not like too steep, and I end up putting some rocks to cover up where the dirt goes, and it ends up looking really nice. One thing that I told myself that I wanted to do before I kind of finished the exterior was that I was going to put more columns around the walls of the build, and I didn't end up doing that. But the final result ended up looking completely fine anyway because the brick that I use is from the new expansion pack, and they have corner pieces that I feel like serve the purpose that the columns would have served anyway. And so it wasn't that big of a deal. But after I was like, oh yeah, I wanted to put a whole bunch of columns in, but I completely forgot. And I think that I have columns in like the porch area. If I don't, I'll go back and add them, but like I'm pretty sure that I do. And here I'm using tool mod to lower in some rocks to create the like definition. I think these are get together rocks, which I really like the texture of these rocks. These are one of my go-tos when I am doing landscape like this. And I was considering cutting out some of doing this, but I feel like maybe it could just be satisfying to watch a little bit anyway. I feel like when I was editing it, it felt like very like I don't know, calming to watch just like all the rocks get lowered together and like move them up, like move them using how do I move the rocks again? Is it control? I think I hold down control or shift and then I'm able to move all of the rocks into like different areas of the terrain. It's like muscle memory at this point that I sometimes forget. But if you're ever like struggling with tool mod and like how to do things like this, I hope that like me leaving it in the video you could kind of like see a little bit more of how I'm doing it. Again, like moving all of the rocks and like highlighting all the rocks, it's either shift, control, or alt. My brain it's just like I just do it naturally. I don't even remember what it is, but at least you can see like the numbers that I use and stuff because most like for the most part I cut out a lot of the tool mod stuff, but it can be a little bit like intimidating if you're just starting out with tool mod because when I had started, I kind of like avoided using it as much as possible because it felt like really difficult and scary to learn. And now I feel like I'm like it's very like straightforward. I don't know why I was so like nervous about using it. And I remember my first ever like video, I was like individually lowering every single rock. And so it's like nice to see how far I've come with like Toolmon and getting more comfortable with it. Um I still avoid, like, rotating objects. That's something that I'm like it seems scary, and it's, like, something just I have to, like, just force myself to do more often, and then it'll be, like, um, very natural and easy for me to just rotate items. But I never really, like, look at something and I think, "Oh, yeah, I need to rotate this item." Like, I think the last time I did it was to take one of the, like, Realm of Magic brooms and, like, rotate it so that I could pretend like a ghost was riding the broom, and that's, like, the only time I've ever really had to rotate something. But yeah, this is the porch in the front. I keep adding more, like, roof pieces around to break up some of the walls. I feel like it would, like, add some good detail to the exterior without, like, adding more walls to it. So every so often, I'll just put like a roof into the walls, just to like create like a divide from like one story to the other story. And like at one point it started poking into the build a little bit. Like someone also had asked me on Twitter like how I do some of my roofing so that it doesn't like poke into the walls. And like I'm sure you had seen earlier how like the entire like third story I had to redraw in every single wall because for some reason like the game broke the roof. And sometimes that's what you have to do is you have to like recreate the room so that your build will actually register as a room instead of like being outside kind of. I don't know really how to explain it. I don't know why it happens, but usually if it's not a rounded roof, like it's an easy fix by redrawing out the entire room, which sometimes can be really annoying if you had already done all of your wallpaper on the outside and like the windows and different things like that, like ivy can sometimes be a problem. Luckily, I did the entire floor plan before I did any of the exterior walls. I don't even remember why I did it in this order because this is not normal. I don't usually do this. I think it was because of how intimidating the build looked, and I wanted to make sure there's enough space. Okay, yeah, I think I had said that earlier, that I kept adding, like, different sections of the house because I needed to make sure there's enough space for everything. So that's why. But right now, I don't know why I still haven't done the walls. I guess I was just really excited to get into the landscaping. So I was like, yeah, I need to map out the terrain. And then once I map out the terrain, like instantly, I'm like, I just want to start putting grass around and flowers. And I wanted to try and use these like black rose bushes in this build too, because I really like them. And I thought that this would be a nice build for them to like fit in nicely because I'm not like, there's not really a whole lot of vibrant colors in this build. It's just like whites, grays, and then like lush greenery on the outside, and that's like it. And the walls end up also being a like gray brick or stone. I'm using a stone path that leads up to the house. And normally to create definition for a pathway, I use like these fences that are like your Sims can walk over. I had to pause a second because my brother's dog was barking because someone was here. But what I was saying was that usually I use those fence pieces to create like definition on like a pathway slope. But this time I used these rocks again, but I sized them down a little bit and I put them on a little bit of an angle so that like it would create some sort of like interesting look of like the layers. To make it like look a little bit more natural because I thought that the stone pathway just with the terrain paint looked a little bit like fake and it didn't look like it like belonged. So this is kind of my way around it. And I really like it because it helps to hide some of the like blend from the stone to the grass because there is no blending. I didn't blend any of it. Like I didn't put any dirt to help like transition it from the pathway to the greenery. So just adding some of the grass and like using tool mod to lower the rocks in and different flowers. It helped to make it feel more part of the landscape instead of just like here's the pathway that's thrown here. But now we're in the backyard, which I had said before was my favorite part of the builds. Um, and I do the same thing as I did in the front where I use one of the specific terrain tools that you can flatten to a specific height. If you use control and a bracket key, I believe. And so that's what I use most of the time because it's very easy to create. Like you have more control over the height than if you were just using the elevate or like the decrease elevation tools. It's a little bit harder to make it look even, and it's also very fast, as you can see. Like it's like 1 2 3, it's all raised up in the same height. You don't have to worry about like using multiple different tools. And then um the rocks are like very quick and easy to do as well. And I do the same sort of landscaping that I did in the front but in the back, so I'm just like eye dropping the same grass, the same trees. I'm using like the same stairs and railing, things like that. And now I'm adding like back doors around the place because I wanted to have enough exits like in different parts of the house so you don't have to walk through the entire house to get to one section and then get to the backyard because I was like my sim like when he grows up to be a teenager he's going to be like doing a lot of the gardening and stuff and I didn't want him to have to like walk throughout all these parts of the house. So it's like, okay, you could get out from I think like the study has an exit and then like the bathroom has an exit, I believe, or maybe it's like part of a hallway near the bathroom and then the kitchen also has an exit into the backyard which leads right to the like actual like farmland and the chicken coop and then the other exits lead down towards like where you could have like a cow or a horse and I would like to maybe have a horse in my gameplay. I haven't like played around with the horses a in a while so that would kind of be nice. I just don't want to get overwhelmed because when my sim had her first baby and I had to take care of like an infant and then a toddler, I had to take so many breaks. Because if it's like just like a kid or a teenager or a young adult, I could play The Sims for hours every day. But the moment that I have like too much going on that my Sims have to take care of and monitor, I'm like, oh my God, I need to take a very long break for a little while. And that's what was happening because my Sims had like two chickens. They have a crow that I'm like so afraid I don't want the crow to run away because I named the crow Trickster after my favorite killer in Dead by Daylight. And in my head, I'm like, if you make Trickster fly away forever, you're never gonna forgive yourself. And so I was so stressed out because I'm like, my sim is like not making a lot of money because at that point she was just having income from like her Grim Reaper job and she wasn't making a lot from writing books and she couldn't even write a single book while she had a baby because she had to take care of so many other things. I don't know how I did all of it, but now they're in a more comfortable like place and like the kid is a teenager so he could kind of help out and now it's like they have a lot of income so I'm not constantly stressed out about everything. I also feel like I sound so weird when I like pause and I put my like voiceover into the video. It's gotten so cold here in the last like couple days. Like it was so hot and then suddenly the temperatures dropped, so I've been feeling a little sniffly. And so I'm like, I'm trying to make sure I finish this voiceover in case I get even more sniffly because it's like this is a long video. So I'm like, I don't want to be sniffling throughout the entire thing. But now I talked over me starting the windows. I used only windows from Life and Death, I think. I don't think I used any other windows. I do end up changing the ones that I had put on those towers to just a square one. I like how like I don't know, I feel like it looks like like a fantasy house or like a storybook house with those specific windows, but I do end up changing them because I realized that I like the other ones that I'm using right in the front of the house next to the front door. And so I change out the like round like they're not rounded, but they have a little bit of a curve to it where the other ones are more just rectangular. And so I end up changing them all out to that. Um, Also, I think another part of why this video is so long is because I left in me doing a lot of the ivy on the build. But again, I was like, maybe that's satisfying to watch like come along with that. And it's like, I don't know. So I just kept in more than I usually would. I did make some cuts with the ivy just because it was a lot. I ended up using only ivy from Get Together, but I thought that it would look nice to have the Discover University ivy pieces as well. But I believe that those ones, when you have the walls down, I think that they interfere with your like line of sight into the house, which sometimes I don't think about fully when I'm building, but because I'm like I'm going to be playing with this house, I was more aware of these things. And I remember seeing somebody else who was building talk about ivy like getting in the way of gameplay and stuff. And so I was like thinking of that when I was doing that. So I was like, okay, I don't want to do way too much ivy, just like enough to um make it look just like how I want it to look. And I added some more of those like broken greenhouse type windows around. So there's some that leads into the dining room of the build, the library, and there's like a couple bedrooms that also have those sorts of windows in it. And I feel like it looks really nice from inside too. I really like it. And I did use like a lighter swatch of it where like the inside of the house is pretty dark wood, which is like most of my builds. I still think it looks pretty nice. Like in contrast of that. And it looks really great with this because I'm using this light gray with like the white stone on the corners of the build, which makes me not have to really put columns around, which was really nice. This is also from Life and Death, which like I remember in my last video, which was like I guess my first impressions of the pack, I had like a couple complaints about the pack, like not too many, but I was saying how we didn't have a lot of wallpaper options and like the windows, how I really like the wood window parts of these, but I don't really like the outside walls. But it looks so good with this build, so I kind of take most of that back. I was just not building the right like style for this sort of thing. I had also mentioned something about like the swatches of the cabinets and the counters not really matching. And I did find when I was doing this that there are matching cabinet and counter swatches. It just doesn't have the counter that I wanted, which was like the main issue because I think that my favorite counter didn't match my favorite cabinet, which I was upset about for like a second. And I said that I like wouldn't really probably use the counters very often, but I used them a lot recently. So I'm using them in this build and I really like how it turned out. I'm using them in my current gameplay house. And believe I use them in next week's video, which is going to be like a tarot spellcaster's house that's for a witchy collab, which might be out earlier than Monday. So I posted on Mondays, but the posting date for that collab I think is on like a Saturday or something. Um I think Saturday. I'd have to like check in the Discord to see what day it's due. So I might end up having a video out like later this week, as if you're watching this like as soon as this build is uploaded. And then I might not have one the following week. It depends. I need to work it out in my head. I'm not even sure if I'll be able to edit and do a whole voiceover for the like exact due date for that collab. I'll try. If not, I'll just like see if it's okay that I post it a few days after the original posting date. But yeah, now you've seen me like putting all the ivy around, which I also kept in because I thought maybe you'd want to see like how I build up the ivy and like make it flow a little bit more naturally, especially because it is just the same ivy piece like over and over again. um and I really like the color swatch of this one. This has become my favorite ivy in the game. It's just like the perfect color. I think it's like it's not the first swatch of this ivy. It's like the third one or something. It's more of a toned down green and the other one's a little bit brighter. They also have like a red one, which I feel like would have looked really nice as well in this sort of build, but I loved the like lush greenery around this house. Currently, so I felt like this just worked really well. I also love the backdrop of this a lot with the hills and like the farmland behind it. It feels like perfect for having the like farm in the back of this build too. I loved it. And it's like so many good lots in this world, which when I had first seen the trailer, I was like a little bit nervous because when I had heard that there was gonna be like life and death and like tarot, I was really hoping for like a like mystical forest worlds. And like from the trailer, it looked more of like a built up town. which is like not really the case. Like, yeah, there is like the town center, which is really beautiful, but there's also that like eerie forest with like the very like green hue, um and like kind of like worn down buildings, which is like kind of the vibe that I wanted anyway. And then there's like this farmland area over here too. And so next week's video, or like the video later this week, is also built in this neighborhood that this one is built in. It's such a good neighborhood. Ravenwood is going to become one of my go-to worlds that I build in. Um like I build in like Moonwood Mill a lot. Glimmerbrook, not as much as you'd probably assume that I would, mostly because of the lighting and, the lot sizes over there, but what other world do I build in? Copperdale, I always build in, like, this one specific lot that's, like, in the woods. Um Henford, I haven't built in as much as, like, I used to, but I think I've been building in Henford pretty often. One world that I haven't built in a while is Chestnut Ridge, which I'm now thinking about because of this, like, farm area that's being built. I need to build in Chestnut Ridge again at some point because that world is, like, really beautiful, and I love it in the fall. If I could get another fall build out before winter in that world, that would be great too. I have so many build ideas that I wanna get through though, and I'm not sure what, I'm gonna be able to do very quickly. But, yeah, for this backyard, I decided to split up, different fences and things because it was such, like, an intimidating space because it's such a huge lot, like, this is a 64 by 64 lot, and I didn't really know how to map out, this backyard very well, so I just put in different fenced-in areas, so there's, like, the fenced-in chicken coop, then there's, like, a little fenced-in swing set area, and then I put a treehouse item in the back, so, like, where that the right here, because my Sims had built a tree house on their other lot, so I wanted another tree house in this one, and then another fenced-in area where you could have, like, a horse or something, and at this point, I really didn't know what I was going to build for, like, a horse, but it's such a cute structure. The only problem is that I didn't put a whole lot of detail on the exterior of it, so I kinda wanna just go back in before I upload it and maybe add a little bit more to that little barn because it's such a pretty, like, it's like a pretty cottage. It's like I want that exact shape, but as, like, a tiny house, like a one-bedroom house with farmland around it would be really pretty. I think I use do I use rounded ones for this one? No. I use just like an octagonal type wall piece, which is usually what I do. I did use rounded walls for the like greenhouse as part of the manor. I try to avoid round walls because they cause a lot of issues, but it worked out really great with the new windows, so I didn't have any problem with the rounded walls at all this time. And if you're still watching this, like, 40 minutes in where I haven't even, like, looked at the interior decorations yet, thank you. I'm kind of, like I need, like, around 400 more watch hours to unlock, like, the last bit of, like, YouTube monetization. So, like, I had unlocked YouTube Partner in the summer, and then you needed, like, an additional 1,000 watch hours to, like, get ad revenue. So watching this much is really helpful. And if you want to watch some of my other videos, I have playlists of different ones. If you want to help me out with some of my watch hours, I'm trying not to like look at it too much, but I like felt like I wanted to check because last week's video was like kind of long and it got like more views than most of like my videos usually get. So I was like, oh yeah, let me just check in and see my progress towards it. And so I need like just under 400 watch hours. So I appreciate you giving me pretty much another hour towards that by watching this far into the video so far with just like me mostly doing an exterior with like blank walls for a half an hour of it. It feels like it's like a movie length speed build of me just like yapping while my build just like barely makes progress because there's so many details on the outside. And now we're on the interior, which it doesn't take as long as the exterior took, which you would think this would take forever because it's such a large build. But like I said earlier, I didn't put a lot of clutter. Like I'm pretty sure there's like no clutter in the build. There are like furnishings around, and some of the rooms are barely furnished, but I wanted, like, for the most part, I think that it's furnished enough for you to move in and it to not feel completely empty. Even like the boxes and stuff in the upstairs area, it gives the feel of just moving in. So it's not just like an empty house. And I feel like it works. Like I like that. And when my Sims move in, I won't feel like they're living in like a half done house, and it feels very like everything's finished pretty much, but they could just grow into it. Which I do want to share pictures of that with my Sims living in the house and stuff, which I said earlier that I probably put on Blue Sky because it feels less pressure to love just like posting random things there of my Sims, because my other platforms, I only post like builds and stuff. And I feel like it would be weird for me to post anything that's not my builds. But then over there, I'm like, I could just like post pictures of my gameplay and stuff. It feels more um like casual and not as like intimidating, I guess. So I'll probably post some pictures of my Sims in this house when they do end up moving there. I had actually seen someone had already downloaded my house from last week, the base game one, and they have their Sims living in it. I had seen some of the pictures, and like it looked so pretty, and I was like, "Oh my god." And then it like makes me like my build more, because sometimes I'll like make my build and I'm like, "Oh, it kind of like I don't know how like this is gonna look, or if like without my G shade, if it's gonna look weird." And then like when I see people share pictures of their Sims living in the house, I'm like, wow, that's my house. And like I had like someone had, I think, followed me on Blue Sky, or maybe I followed someone on Blue Sky, and their like banner was a picture of their Sim. And with like my front porch of one of my builds as like the background, and I was like, "Oh my god." And it, like, makes me feel like, I don't know, I get happy about it. Like, I had, watched someone stream who I had known for, like, a while, because we have, like, mutual friends, and, um, her gameplay that she had just been doing for, like, a while now was, like, using one of my really old builds, and it was, like, a build I hadn't even seen in, like, a year, because it was, like, my one of my spellcaster farmhouse shells that I didn't furnish or anything, and it's, like, completely not my usual style. Like, that was, like, me doing, like, a few builds with, like, a white and, like, purple, like, color palette, and to see it again randomly while I was just, like, watching someone, like, play with the new pack, I was like, "Is that my build?" And then I had to ask that, and, like, it turned out it was, and I was like, "Oh my god, I haven't seen this build in a while," and, like, seeing, like, people's, like, families grow into the build and then, like, doing renovations and stuff, it's really cool to see. But, like, if you ever download one of my houses and you're, like, playing it and you're, like, taking pictures of your Sims and sharing it, don't be afraid to, like, tag me in it, because I'd love to see it anyway. I'm on, like, Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky now. Those are, like, my main ones. Even, like, TikTok, I think I've had someone tag me in their, like, legacy that they were using my house, which is really cool. I neglect TikTok so much because there's, like, so many things to post on, and I feel bad that I've almost abandoned sharing my builds on there, but I do wanna get back into it, and I had told myself that I'm like, "Oh, I can just start posting there again," not on the day that I post everywhere else. Like, when I post my speed build, I post on, like, Instagram and Twitter, that my, like, speed build is up and, like, the picture of my build, and, like, I could easily just post on TikTok later in the week, if I just remember, and if I set aside the time in my head that I'm like, you could post on TikTok today, and then I'm like, okay, I'll do that. um, and maybe even like, um, I have such a backlog of builds that I haven't shared on there. One day, one day I'll get back into it. But yeah, I talked pretty much over just the bathroom of the build. Most of the bathrooms in this house are very similar. I believe that the upstairs bathrooms, I cut out me furnishing some of them because I felt like it just gets repetitive. Bathrooms aren't that interesting, especially if I'm using like the same sort of objects. There's one bathroom upstairs that has more of like a blue color palette, which is a little bit different from what I usually do because I was using the new tub in like the blue swatch because I was like, oh, that's kind of pretty. Let me try using that so it's something different. But now we're in the dining room and I wasn't really sold on the rug here, but I love these chairs. I love them with the like burgundy cushions. That's like what I've been using it in most of the time, but I really like it also with the black cushion too. I think that those are the 2 that I've been using. I need to look through the other swatches, but I love those chairs, and they look so nice with just, like, the base game table, which I think I'm using right here, and I got to use the chandelier that I wanted to use in last week's video, but I couldn't fit it anywhere because you need, like, medium or tall wall heights for it, and so this one, I was like, I'm using the chandelier everywhere, and so I use it in, like, the towers too. Um, you can see it kind of floating right now over where, like, the foyer is because it's technically on the ceiling on the upstairs because there is, like, sort of, like, the balcony area upstairs that you, like, look down into the, like, foyer area. I don't think it's too annoying in gameplay for it to kinda be floating, I think it's okay. For some reason, the chandelier in the tower on the right didn't get hidden when I went down a floor, but the one on the left does get hidden. I don't know what that's about, but that's just what ended up happening. And now we're in the kitchen where I think this is probably my favorite counter from Life and Death of like the swatches. I wasn't completely sold on like this marble countertop. I think it's grown on me a little bit. I think that I like the lighter swatch one a little bit better, but I like the cabinets on this one more. But for this one, it felt like, this marble fit in well because of, like, how, like, cozy it looks in here and all of the wood everywhere. It felt like it didn't, like, stick out a whole lot, and I was kind of checking without G-Shade to see if it looked good without it, and I did like it, so that's a plus because I'll be doing gameplay without G-Shade for the most part. Um, my game runs fine with G-Shade with gameplay and stuff. I just don't like putting too much, like, too much on my PC at a certain time, which is probably strange to say because these speed builds, I'm building for like hours at a time with G-Shade on, and the gameplay, I'm probably playing less than that at a time. The UI is just a little bit strange with it, but yeah, it's okay. And I am using the life and death, wooden walls too, because I wanted to get some use out of these items, and I feel like it looks really nice in the kitchen. I use it pretty much throughout most of the house too, and I pair it with these vampire candles because I thought it all went together really nicely, and I really liked it. I did use a more, like, modern light above, like, the fridge area, and I had put 2 fridges over there, but in my head, it was, like, one was a fridge and one was, like, a pantry, which I was thinking of The Sims 1 where there was, like, a pantry item because I remember the first time I played it, and my friend had warned me that, some of them aren't actually fridges, and so that's what I was, like, thinking of when I had put that. I was like, "Yeah, that's kinda like that's the pantry, that's the" fridge, even though technically they're both fridges, but they look nice together. And now I'm doing the living room, which you could see it's a very strange shape, and so I wasn't really sure how this was gonna go with this, and I was like, okay, fireplace here, and I'll just have like a little like sitting area in this corner, and then I'll have to have a couch with the TV, And then the other side, I think I put another desk in because I was like, oh, I'm going to have the library with a writing desk, but it would be nice to have another desk closer to the other areas of the house because I think it would be annoying again with like walking throughout the entire house. So I was like, okay, I want like some more computers around so it's not an entire like 3-hour journey for my sim to get from the computer to the kitchen when they're like starving and I'm making them write for so long and like their needs are all in red. And so here they have entertainment, they have the bathroom right there, and they have the kitchen. And so it's like everything is sort of near each other. So I think are there only 2 desks in the house? I think there's only 2, um, which is okay. They're both on opposite sides of the house, and I think that maybe there's a bedroom that's right above here that was going to be my kid's bedroom and I decorate it with like toys and stuff, but he's now a teenager. Like I had thought that I wasn't going to turn aging back on until my Sims moved in here and then I impulsively had another baby with the Grim Reaper. And so I was like, okay, aging is back on. Now my sim is a teenager and I'll have to update the house a little bit. I did leave one room empty that I didn't think I put boxes in or anything. So I was like, okay, this like when they move into this house is when they're gonna have the baby. But like again, it just out of nowhere, I was like, yeah, she's gonna woohoo and they're gonna have their baby. There's probably enough space in my tiny house for it to work. And there was just enough. I was like, did a little bit of renovations to increase, like, add another room onto the house, and it was okay. But I really like the green curtains in the living room over here. Are those like high school years? Okay, I was trying to look to see what the icon said. Those are really beautiful curtains. I think they also look really nice with the beaded curtains from the paranormal stuff pack. I think that they pair really nicely together. And it was actually here in the foyer when I decided that I wasn't going to clutter a lot because my original plan was to like map out the living room, dining room, kitchen and then go back in and add clutter. And then when I was doing this room, I realized that maybe I should just not decorate it fully because when I was looking at the walls, I was like, I want to put a lot of expensive paintings around the hallways. And I was like, but that's going to cost like a lot of money for this house. And my Sims at this point didn't have a lot of money. Like right now, they're halfway to being able to afford this house. But before, while I just started this, there was like no way. And so I realized I was like, oh, this is going to be a little while. So I'm not going to put a lot of wall art around and I won't go back in and I won't add plants and stuff around. And I'm happy with that decision. I think it was like a good way to go about it. And it also allows people to download this house and also make it their own and clutter it and stuff. Because even when I see screenshots of people playing in my builds, they definitely like personalize it to their Sims. And I'll like see little like areas of like dressers or like console tables with their own clutter and stuff and like or like CC stuff in it and like it looks really nice. So I think this is perfect for that sort of thing. And now I'm doing the bathroom that is over by my Sims like personal study library area because she is a horror author. So I wanted like a place that was like dark academia almost. So I have like these dark wooden walls with the flooring that I use throughout the entire build, but I wanted very large wooden bookcases around and I didn't want to use all the same ones. So I went through and I picked out different ones that I thought would look nice together. And so I have like a mixture of different packs and they all look like the wood tones are slightly different, but they pair really nicely together. And I love the new columns that came in the new pack. These are like the ones in this room right here. They look so nice. I think they're my favorite columns. Like my old favorites used to be the ones from Horse Ranch. I also like the ones from Cottage Living, but these ones, the texture on them are really, really nice, and I think that they'll be, like, perfect for this, like, Dead by Daylight build that I wanna do, which is, like, a map called Mother's Dwelling, and I have, like, a video recording of the map where there's, like, these, like, carved out wooden columns with, like, dolls and stuff on them, and I feel like the carvings on these ones kind of look kind of similar to it. It's not entirely, but I feel like it'll be a really good base for it, which I've been talking about this build for months and I still haven't gotten around to doing it because I haven't wanted to um like build something that I have to look at a reference picture to. Because I've mostly just been building from like my head and going off of like whatever shapes I think look good together. And it's like a whole lot different when you're looking at a picture of something and you want to like recreate it, which is also why I haven't done another Copperdale save file builds since I posted my last one, which was like the Copperdale shops, and I feel like that was over a month ago now. And I had like multiple ideas of what I wanted to build for that next. So I think I am gonna pick that back up in like maybe like mid-December, even maybe like January. It's weird that like next year is only like a couple months away. It feels like this year went by like very quickly. I feel like my brain is currently stuck in August, and I like when I had noticed it was November, I was like, what is going on? Isn't it August still? Even though like I knew that it was like Halloween in October and stuff, it's just like I feel like my internal clock is set to August right now. And so the fact that December is next month is wild to me. Oh, but now we're in the upstairs bedroom, which you could see the staircase that leads down into her little writing area. Well, I say little, it's a giant library and writing room. And I just picked out some wooden furniture to put in different places. And there's like nothing really on top of any of them, just stuff that I thought would look good here and there. So there's like a dresser, there's a vanity. I put a little like sitting area in this like hallway. It's kind of strange that they're like so rich. They have a hallway in their bedroom. That sounds like wild to me. And they have a hallway and a staircase in their bedroom. They also have a fancy bathroom that again I didn't show. But oh yeah, you could see the bathroom in the hallway over here that has the blue tub and stuff. And the room to the left of the bathroom is going to be the other kid's bedroom. He's a toddler, or he's about to be a toddler, so I don't know if he'll still be a toddler when they move into this house. I'm going to assume that he's gonna be grown up into a kid by the time they have the money to move in here, and I'll like turn off aging again. So like normally I feel like Sims like lifespan stress me out because I feel like I don't get enough time to like do everything I want. So usually I turn aging off and then I'll turn it back on when they have kids and stuff, and then I'll turn it back off when the kids grow up a little bit. Like usually when they as soon as they turn into a kid, I'll turn aging back off because I feel less pressure. But for like toddlers and infants, I can't I can't stand having them for longer than necessary because they're so stressful. They take so much work and stuff. Like even though I have two Sims to take care of the infant now, it's still been really difficult. But yeah, this is the other kid's room. His name is Jasper because I was looking up like ghostly names and then I had seen Jasper and I was like, my dog's name's Jasper. So this is Jasper's room. I'm gonna have to remove like the toys and stuff because he is now a teenager. So I guess I could just move the toys over into the other kids' room when they do end up moving in here. But um I do like the color palette in here. I was gonna go with like that green, but I think I preferred this wallpaper instead. I feel like it matched my sim a little bit better. I feel like the green was like too colorful for him when his like clothes are very like browns and like light browns and tans and stuff. And so I thought it looked better with the like black wallpaper and the black rug, stuff like that. And then these are the other bonus bedrooms. There's four of them. that are unfurnished that just have boxes, like they just moved in and they're unpacking stuff. So there's like dishes on the floor and a toy box and like a pillow there. And then there's the other bedroom that's next to the mom's room, which is for the other kids. So this is like 4, 5, 6, 7 bedrooms, 8 bedrooms if you want to count the upstairs area that I haven't done anything with. This is definitely the largest house that I've ever built. I mean, like 8 bedrooms is even like it's excessive. Like you don't need 8 bedrooms. I mean, like you could have up to 8 Sims with mods. You could have more. So maybe they could be of use. And also, if you hear like a clattering noise in the background of my video, it's because I keep picking up, like, my glass straw and, like, fidgeting with it and, like, clinking it against my glass. And, like, I have to, like, stop myself. Sometimes when I'm doing a voiceover, I'll, like, have just something in my hand that I'm playing with, and, sometimes the noise will pick up, and so when I was, like, putting that section in, I was like I heard that, and I was like, "Oh, I wonder if that's gonna be confusing to people to just, like, randomly hear glass clattering," but yeah, that's just my glass that's on my desk. And so now we're up in the like I say it's an attic space. It's just the third like story of the house. And I put a pretty large bathroom up here. And then there's like a sitting area with a fireplace across from it in like the hallway. And then there is the empty room at the top, which when I was first like doing the floor plan, I was considering making this like a tarot space and like magical like books and stuff. And then I was like, but my sim really hasn't been giving people tarot readings and I don't really want to like do an entire room dedicated to that. So this is just like a bonus room. It could be any sort of hobby room. You could put workout equipment up here if you don't want like to have your Sims leave the lot to work out and stuff. You could like get your like body skill points from doing that. I also realized now I didn't put a pool in here and I was going to, but because this world is like set in fall, I thought a pool would like not fit in very well. But these are the screenshots now. You could see each of the rooms. I tried to go in like kind of in order of where they're located in the house so that it kind of like flows a little bit so you could get an idea of where everything is. But yeah, now we're into the bedrooms, every single one that has the different boxes around. I really like the pictures of just like the moved in boxes. It feels a little like creepy to me in a way. Yeah, I really like it, but now we have the floor plan of the build. You kind of like pause and see everything. But yeah, that's the entire video. Thank you for watching. I'll have a sort of like a witchy tarot build for next week. It's part of a collab. But yeah, thank you so much. Bye.